you'd sat with Eric for a long time, hadn't you? What
Long time.
what was the
Mhm.
difference for you in the work that you did by yourself leading up to and the work that we explored together, and how did they sort of interplay for you? Or yeah, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, the work that I did a lot on my own was obviously just the uh what's the
Research,
sponge? The
like so you believe
sponge.
osmosis?
Mm, Osmosis.
Yeah.
Yeah. A lot of osmosis, which
Mm.
is the listening to the testimony in
Mhm.
the car and before bed, and
Yeah.
then and just watching it on my couch when I didn't have anything else to do, and reading the scripts. And if we're talking about episode 5, I would just write out the whole script as if I was journaling it. I'm writing in my journal these stories and memories, also elaborating on the things that I would say, and playing tennis. And that's what I would do
Lots of tennis.
by by myself. But then with us, we would then go and you would interview me
Mm.
as Eric, and we would deepen the memories even
Yeah.
further to make everything so specific in my mind's eye
Mm.
that the memories feel
Mm.
so real that then when you go to be in it, you're so confident in
Yeah.
in the life that
Yeah.
you've created that you just exist, and then it's easy. You don't feel like you're trying to get to a result. You're just like existing as this person that you've created with all of their life and their memories and the images, and those become so emotional and so like close to your heart that it you can't help but be emotionally connected.
There was so much direction in the scripts about crying, emotional here,
Yeah.
emotional there, this, that, da, 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 da. And so at
Mhm.
first it can bring upon that anxiety of going, oh my God, how am I going to conjure or produce or whatever? And that sort of lens flip. Do you want to talk about that lens flip that we explored? Do you remember?
Yeah, I might be wrong, but
Mm-hmm.
I think it was sort of like, okay, well, if I'm Eric,
Mm.
how would I not be like
Emotion.
it wouldn't make sense for me to not be emotional
Yeah.
in this moment.
Yeah.
If I really was him,
Yeah.
then how maybe that was it.
Yeah. Well, we kind
Kind
of,
of.
we, it's that whole thing of when obviously when someone's crying, no one wants to cry.
Yeah.
So the actor will come in going, I have to cry here. Whereas in the life as Eric, you were certainly not going to be wanting to cry. So it was kind of us reverse
Mm-mm.
engineering in those moments. What is causing you to? What are you thinking of? What is it? And what that
Right.
is or does in that moment? What comes up for you? And
Yes.
then,
And
mm,
sorry.
okay, this is like our session.
Honestly.
Honestly,
No, and
and
doing
then
the
the
thought
thoughts.
pools that we would
Yeah,
create.
the power of talking yourself into the reality bit. But then, most importantly, the trying to stop the emotion
Hmm. Yeah,
because that's what humans do, right?
totally.
Um,
Yeah.
and what else was I going to ask you? What else was I going to pick your brains about, Cooper? What was it like for you? Because so we worked through episode 5 kind of in little stages, eh? What was it like for you when if you want to talk about it,
When
when
we did it the first time.
yeah, when we had that, because at that point you weren't 100% like locked in
Mm-mm.
with what you wanted to say. You hadn't fully, but you knew a lot of it. And I didn't know it at all, obviously, as Leslie. So
Hmm.
I was reminding you, look, if I don't come in, don't be waiting for me to come in, like be in your
Right.
experience
Just keep going. Hmm.
and be thinking something you don't want to say. That was the first time I think you'd gone
All the way through.
all the way through.
Yeah.
What,
Yeah. And I don't think I shed a tear.
hey?
I don't think I shed a tear.
It was a lot. That was, my God, Cooper, by the end of that, my heart broke. My heart was on
Well,
the
I think, well, there
floor.
were two times.
Mm-hmm.
I think that was the second time
We,
because
mm-hmm.
we did it twice. I remember after the first time reading it all the way through, and I wasn't fully, I didn't have it all.
Yeah,
Gosh, I felt
you were scared.
I was
But I
so
think that was
scared.
before we'd actually. dove in? Is that the right? Gone to
Dived,
delved, whatever. That
delved.
before we'd really gone into the meat of it, I think we were
Yeah.
kind of just speaking it out,
Yeah. And I
and
think
then we
it
went
was
through it.
you. I think it was you that you were like, okay, like we're kind of getting closer. Like maybe you should just read it once. I
Well,
mean,
oh yeah, because
out
you weren't
loud together.
right, because you didn't. I think what it was is it was that blurring, of like I could still feel you as the actor kind of going, I don't have it yet. So your actor brain was coming in as opposed to that
Hmm.
refocus into going, if you don't have it, that's perfect. You just don't know what you want to say right now.
Yeah,
So find
exactly.
it. So find it from here.
Find it on the yeah, find it
I,
on the page. This is coming up now too. I remember sort of wanting to read it with you the first time and sort of like impress you, or like I wanted to like yeah, or like I wanted it to come out and just be like so good already and just be perfect. And
yeah.
it's funny because that's how I went into shooting it too, of just like I'm
Rehearsing
gonna
it.
go in and I'm
Not
just
the
gonna
rehearsal
nail
though.
it.
Not the
Not
rehearsal.
on the rehearsal. No, no, not on the rehearsal. The
Not the
rehearsal was great.
and that says something, right? For an amazing, beautiful artist as yourself to come in and do one rehearsal and it be amazing.
Yeah.
Like that's a person who's putting their work in. And you fought for it, didn't you? To be the one take?
I,
Wasn't there some
I rem-
discussion maybe of it?
yeah, there was. And they spoke about this in a panel the other day, but I think Ian had suggested that, you know, do we just shoot the other side just in case, just so we have it? Like,
Yeah.
or do we, and our DP, I remember having an early conversation with him. We like went into the room and he was like showing me, well, we could get creative with it. And what if we start on the wall and we pan over and then as it's going, we go over to Leslie and like we could get even more creative with it. And I
Mm,
sort of I heard that, but also sort of was just like, no, I think it's supposed to be
mm,
one shot and it's supposed to be how it's written and that's just
yeah.
the way that it's supposed to be. But I don't think I really fought too much for it. It just ended up that I think Michael really was the one that made the
The call.
decision to only to do it as it was scripted because and I found this out later, more, actually really recently I found this out that this the reasoning was like if we do turn around or we do get any other coverage, we're going to use it.
Right.
Like so
And I
yeah.
think the fact that you felt confident, it speaks to your work ethic and your dedication. You were
Mhm.
like, no, I'm going to be ready. And so I
Yeah.
think if
Well,
they
and
didn't feel that from you,
I was I just knew it was going to be the best thing for Eric.
yeah,
Like he needed that time and that focus on him to be able to get into people's hearts and minds and to be able to really show and tell what happened to him. And in that you need to have that
continuous.
intense locked down focus um on him and that editing sometimes can't provide.
No. Well, it
So
gives
there's
you
a real intent behind it.
that respite from it in a way and seeing you.
Uh,
There's just something quite magical. And I'm curious about that because everyone's so impressed, rightly so in this case. But people tend to be really impressed with the idea of the one take, right? Whereas obviously in
mhm,
theater, this happens all the time.
all the time.
However, I was kind of trying to dissect that a little bit. I wonder why people are particularly impressed when it happens on camera. And I think it's because you can't hide. Do you know
No,
what I mean? Like it's
you
so
can hide in theater.
micro and you can see everything that you can detect bullshit so much easier, I
Mhm.
think. And it's
Yeah,
also captured
it's captured.
and then it lives. It's not something
Yeah,
like, oh, that was a rough night.
yeah,
It's there.
yeah.
And you've got
And
a
you
noisy
can.
camera zooming in slowly.
Mhm.
There's all of this. In fact, often don't you find film and TV is actually far more
Way
distracting
more.
than being on.
There's a guy standing there like this with the microphone.
And you can see it in your peripherals.
Yeah, and then there's a person in the corner who's hunched behind a little monitor who's like doing the focus.
Doing, yeah.
And, it's funny. I've done my fair share of like comment reading, which I have to stay away from
It's
because
clear
it's,
sometimes. Yeah.
yeah, I mean, it's the why I don't have social media.
Yeah.
But like I find my ways to go and see what people say.
Yeah.
And it's funny, there are some people who really, I've seen the like, well, there was definitely a teleprompter.
I know. I've
You
seen
know,
that too.
yeah, it's like there was definitely a teleprompter. And like,
I saw him
well,
look at it.
I mean, it's not that impressive because people do this in theater all the time. To be fair, like, yes, there's a point to that. I think what really prepared me for this was I
Mm.
did a play in 2019, which was a two-hander
Mm.
called Head First, and I was playing this character that um had seizure disorder and was
Oh,
like basically
wow.
navigating the relationships with men in his life and
Yeah.
having boyfriends and dealing with all this stuff. And the other actor was playing all these different characters around me. And so it was so much monologuing
Yeah.
to the audience, talking straight to them,
Right.
and so much dialogue. And I remember feeling like, oh gosh, how am I gonna pull this
Mm.
off? How am I gonna do this? And then I did that. So
Yeah.
then I felt like for this, I was like, oh, that was like 90 pages. So
Yeah.
like 34 pages, like, okay. But yeah, there was no teleprompter.
No.
And you're absolutely right. With film,
Mm.
the pressure of it being captured, it's like you could be in front of someone and do something, but the minute someone pulls the camera on you and they're ready to hit record and that red light goes on,
Mm.
there's a different
Yeah.
thing that happens to you of like, this is being recorded.
Mm.
So there's a different level of awareness that you have
Yeah.
to
That you have to flip,
sort of that you have to flip. Exactly. You have
which
to put
is
it
where that
away.
work is there to serve you, isn't it? Because when you've got
Exactly.
that world anchored, that's what you can get to focus on. It's like, where is my
And
focus?
yeah, and you get lost in that.